Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has just announced he's leaving the Democratic Party, but instead will be running for president as an independent candidate. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back again with a new video today. It is time we talk about the 2024 presidential election, because everyone, we have a bombshell announcement from the Democratic primary, as Robert F. Kennedy Jr., yes, that Kennedy, has just announced he is leaving the Democratic primary. But instead of just dropping out and that being it, he will be running for president as an independent candidate next year. This is arguably one of the biggest shakeups for next year's election. Now, before we continue with today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Guys, just for $1 a month, you can join Real American. This is the best way to support the daily content that we all know and love. So I hope and recommend you join the channel today. Alright, everybody. So this is a developing story. He just announced it a couple minutes ago, I think it was. So this is up-to-date news, everybody. We're actually making a video this quick. But either way, this, in my opinion, is the biggest announcement so far for next year's election that could fundamentally change next year's election. It really could. Cornel West is one thing, but getting a Robert F. Kennedy on the ticket, that is someone that you don't really know how that's going to go if it happens. But let's get into it. Let's read what New York Times is reporting. In a move that could alter the dynamics of the 2024 election, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said on Monday that he would continue his presidential run as an independent candidate, ending his long-shot pursuit of the Democratic nomination against an incumbent president. "I'm here to declare myself an independent candidate for President of the United States," Mr. Kennedy told a crowd of supporters out to the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia. So he made his announcement in Philly. We kind of knew this was going to happen. He's not too happy with what the Democrats are doing. Because let's be real. Let's stop pretending for a second. They are openly rigging the process in favor of Biden. Parties do this all the time, but not how the Democrats are doing it. Usually they just, cancel primaries, they cancel debates, whatever. But the Democrats are doing, they add something on top of it. They are, instead of, canceling a bunch of primaries and whatnot, instead of just doing that, they are openly changing the schedule that they've had for basically 100 years. It used to be Iowa, New Hampshire as the first caucus and primary. But now, it's South Carolina. They have flipped the order on purpose because they know, even if it's a slim shot, Kennedy does have a shot, or at least did. Because Biden is not well liked even within his own party. In those two states, Iowa, New Hampshire, he had some of the worst results of any nominee ever in those two states in the primary. He did. He didn't even get delegates in New Hampshire, I don't believe. That's how bad it was. Since announcing his candidacy in April, Mr. has been a sharp critic of Democratic leadership, which he has accused of, quote, hijacking the party machinery to stifle his challenge to President Biden. He also said in interviews and in public appearances that the party has abandoned its principles and have become corrupted. Absolutely. Listen, this isn't the Democrat Party from 40 years ago, not 50 years, whatever, not even 10 years ago. This is a completely different party. It's not in a positive manner. It's not like the GOP where they evolved from, this Bush-esque party that was absolutely horrible to something more positive in America first and more nationalist, populist, whatever you want to call it. AKA what the Republican Party kind of was in the 50s, 40s, and 30s, but that's a different story for a different time. But either way, you get the point that the parties have changed, but the Democrats, not in a good direction. They have turned into a more radical left-wing nutjob party. That's the best way to put it. Running as an independent will entail an expensive, uphill battle to get on the ballot in all 50 states. Last week, Cornel West, a liberal academic and presidential candidate, said he would also run as independent, abandoning his efforts to secure the Green Party's nomination. The scion of a liberal political dynasty, Mr. Kennedy has alienated family members and many Democrats with his promotion of conspiracy theories. Of course, the New York Times had to make a big deal about the conspiracies and all that other crap. His rejection of scientific orthodoxies and his embrace of far-right political figures. Of course, the New York Times had to spin it like crazy. Mr. Kennedy, an environmental lawyer, has been lionized by a movement that has expanded beyond anti-vaccine sentiments, including opposition to the mandatory vaccination of children, which, how is that bad? To push back more broadly against state public health measures. Good. Say what you will about any of this other crap. There's no law in the book that says the government can, shut you down or lock you in your basement for 5 months, I mean, the fact that people are defending the government for saying, oh, it's for public safety, it's slow the spread. It's like, listen, I understand that COVID is a serious problem for many people, but it's like, why should people be locked in their basements and, forced to stay in there? If they leave, they get arrested. It's like, what? If you're a healthy person, why should this apply to you? Shortly after Mr. Kennedy entered the race, some polls showed him of up to 20% of Democratic support, which was in large part a measure of the desire among some for an alternative to Mr. Biden. Mr. Kennedy's numbers have sagged in recent months, though his campaign, which dwells as much on nostalgia for his political lineage as it does skepticism about the scientific and political establishment, continues to appeal to a particular cross-section of skeptical Democrats, political conservatives, and independents. And that's the big question about all of this. How does this impact next year? Because there is an argument to be made that Kennedy can absolutely help Biden. But here's the problem. Well, I really do think it cancels out with each other. Because I think Kennedy has such unique support. I don't think it necessarily hurts Trump. I don't think it necessarily helps him either. I think it kind of, cancels out. Who I think he does win over are probably some, Republicans that are not happy with Trump for whatever reason. But also I do think he does pick off some Democrats from Biden that they don't like him. They really do not like Biden, and they're never going to vote for Trump, though. But they may not like somebody like Cornel West. So there is a serious question about his base, but like this article says, it's a lot of pissed off Democrats, pissed off Republicans, and independents that hate both parties. That's really his appeal, which is very broad, and I don't know how we can handle that and keep it together, because that's 3 extremely broad coalitions. Mr. Kennedy has raised 2 main complaints about the Democratic National Committee, which is supporting Mr. Biden's re-election effort. First, he said, Mr. Party and the Biden pushed to change the first primary state from New Hampshire, where Mr. Kennedy, who has New England roots, enjoys a base of support, to South Carolina, the state that rescued Mr. Biden's campaign in 2020, which they did. They moved the calendar to make South Carolina first, because that was the state that really saved Biden's campaign. If it wasn't for South Carolina, Bernie Sanders would have won. There, I said it. He would have won the nomination. South Carolina bailed him out. If it wasn't for that, it would have been close, but I do think Sanders would have had the edge. Because Biden, he needed that momentum ASAP. And South Carolina was always his strongest state. Second, the party has refused to arrange for debates between Mr. Biden and Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Biden's campaign and the DNC have also essentially refused to acknowledge Mr. Kennedy's candidacy and have avoided saying his name. It should be a party's voters who choose a candidate, not party insiders who anoint one, Mr. Kennedy wrote in a letter to the DNC last month, which I agree with. Listen, it's not like with other candidates like Trump. He was getting 95% of the vote. He had no shot in hell losing that nomination. There's just some bozos that were running for whatever reason. It's like, no. Trump was never going to lose that nomination. Biden probably wasn't either. But Biden, he wasn't pulling at 90% like Trump was getting when he ran in his primary in 2020 or Obama in 2012. He was in the mid-60s, even some polls below 55. It's like, that's not a good sign for incumbent president to be only like 60%. The fact that 40% of your base is just like, whoa, hold on here, you're the incumbent? That's not good. The DNC is not supposed to favor one candidate over another, he added. It is supposed to oversee a fair democratic selection process, and then support the candidate that its voters choose. Mr. Kennedy had teased Monday's announcement in a video last week, though his campaign held off on confirming that he was changing parties. But in the hours before he got on the stage in Philly, there was a subtle change on Mr. Kennedy's campaign website, where it had once read, "I am a Kennedy Democrat," with the family name in italics. It was changed to, "I am a Kennedy American." So, yeah. RFK has officially switched to the independent route, which I don't know how that's going to go. Again, the big question is, how does this impact everything? And I think it's a wash. I do think there are some Republicans that could bail the Kennedy, but it really does depend on how Trump and his campaign handles him. If they hammer him for his environmental and gun policy, that may actually help Kennedy with Democrats, but hurt him with Republicans, because that's his weakest suit. Guns and the environment. That's always been his weakest policy. You know, I really do think that's what you got to hammer him on. Because if people realize, wait a minute, he has a very questionable record on guns and on the environment, why the hell would I vote for this guy? You know, I really do think that is the route to take. But like Richard Bear said on Twitter, I could see this backfiring. If these morons of the RNC attack him for, radical socialism or something crazy like that, it's like, that could absolutely backfire. I don't get why there's even just attack him on guns. Why do you gotta bring up socialism or something BS like that? Focus on issues that your base cares about, like guns. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Thank you so much. Godspeed to all of you.